Okay, so just started recording. So welcome to this month's WiST webinar. We are joined today by Elizabeth Marshall, which is fantastic. We've already had a chat this morning to sort out the technical issues, so hopefully it's all going to go well. So thank you for joining us for a WiST webinar. This is the Women in Science and Tech webinar that Technocamps runs bi-monthly to get people, or women specifically in the technology sector, together to discuss certain topics. So we do loads and loads of different things, from work-life balance, and today we're looking at enthusing people, young people in STEM. So we have our speaker Elizabeth Marshall today. She's based in Gowerton. At home, she works as a lawyer for the police in Bridgend, which sounds very exciting. And she's here today as the STEM subject matter expert for number 3 Welsh Wing RAF Air Cadets Squadron in Llanelli. Is that right, Liz? Give me a nod if I got that right, because that was a mouthful of things to say.
You learn working with the police and the military that your life becomes one long acronym. I'm amazed you still have a name. But right. Yeah, I'm based in a squadron in Llanelli, 1054 it's known as, and I'm the wing STEM subject matter expert for number 3 Welsh Wing, which I can explain a bit more about later on.
Brilliant. Okay, so Liz is going to talk to us today. She's been working with Technocamps through the link with the RAF Air Cadets, and the RAF is actually sponsoring our robotics competition this year that we're running with schools, which is fantastic. So it's a brilliant partnership that we've developed with them. So we've asked Liz to talk about her work as a volunteer, leading being the subject matter expert in STEM as well, obviously linking to Technocamps, in inspiring young people, especially girls and women, into getting into STEM subjects, however that might be, whatever those subjects might be. Obviously a link with RAF, you've got your aerospace links and your engineering links, but obviously it's much broader than that as well. And Liz was saying it's much broader than just focusing on the RAF sort of links with STEM. So I'm going to pass over to Liz. She's going to share a presentation. She's got lots of pictures to illustrate what work she does with her Air Cadets. I'm just going to pass it over to you. People in the audience, obviously this is always a Q&A thing, so if you've got any questions that pop into your head while Liz is presenting, please put it in the chat and we will have a Q&A at the end of Liz's talk. So I will hand over to Liz and put myself on mute. So thank you very much. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
There we are. That was a good start, wasn't it? Can you hear me, Laura?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I be heard? Yeah. Okay, fine, great. It always makes the cadets laugh that their STEM SME is can be quite inept when it comes to technology. So I'm hoping I'm not going to display that too much today. Yeah, as Laura said, my name is Liz Marshall. I'm a volunteer, what's called a CVAV, more acronyms, with the Royal Air Force Air Cadets. I've been a volunteer for a couple of years. My rank, such as it is civilian instructor, and I joined the organization because my son, who features in our first photograph, and he won't thank me for using that photo because he's quite old, because my son became an air cadet. I joined initially just to attend at parade nights to support the cadets, and then in the latter part of 2021 an email came around saying that the wing were looking for a STEM officer. To the best of my knowledge, and I think this is still true, the wing has never had a STEM officer before. I don't call myself an officer because I don't have a uniformed rank, so I'm known as an SME, a subject matter expert, which always makes me laugh to be described as an expert. So I applied for the post and got made with the Wing STEM SME in the early part of 2022. I think my indication of where the Wing was with STEM came in my interview, because one of the 3 people interviewing me said that they'd had to look up what STEM meant before they came to interview me. So I could see that perhaps the Wing, and this is no criticism of the Wing, but as at the time, the Wing was not particularly engaged with STEM as it is, as we know it now. So I was appointed, as I say, in early 2022. And this is one of the first slide I'm showing here is one of the slides that I showed at my interview, because I wanted to make it clear, and I felt it was only appropriate, that coming into the role, although I am what you might call a very passionate amateur, I have no background in STEM. I think my highest qualification in a STEM related subject was A-level maths. So I don't have a scientific background. I don't have any scientific degrees. I don't work in the sciences. As you heard, I'm a lawyer and I work with the police. And I was in private practice prior to that. So I'm coming at this very much as I say, a very enthusiastic, dare I say, passionate amateur for this. The first slide shows my son and I at Jodrell Bank attending a space and music festival called Blue Dot, which is run annually. My son is wearing one of his favorite t-shirts, which is a quote from The Big Bang Theory. And this is where it all started, really, is me sharing things with him, such as our visit to Chichester, I think, where we went to see an exhibition about Tim Peake. I made my friends watch his launch while we were having coffee one morning. I took my son to the Netherlands to the EastTech Open Day at Noordwijk. We watched lots and lots of presentations. Seth was also lucky enough to meet it was the project scientist working on the Rosetta mission, who also is rather partial to dressing up as a stormtrooper. So that's again us attending at the EastTech facility in the Netherlands, and an event in London organised by, again, ESA, a talk by Professor Mark McCaughrean about Europeans in space. And one of the beauties of Twitter was I was able to reach out to Professor McCaughrean, and I'd like to say now that we've become friends, and we do chat about things like the work that he's doing with ESA as a somebody who goes around the world speaking on their behalf. So that's my background. That's how I came into it. And this is one of the first presentations I did at a squadron in Neath. And I when I got appointed in the role, I thought, well, where do I go from here? I had, as I understood it, no budget, no staff, no curriculum, no particular way of doing this. So I reached out to the Air Cadets nationally through our BARDA portal and found an awful lot of useful information. And in fact, luckily, a STEM strategy that was devised in 2019. Now, I'm not going to take you through the strategy. I just want to mention the 4 headings, and I always have these in mind when I'm trying to do anything STEM related with the cadets. The 4 headings that they try to encourage us to work to are to promote, to introduce, to participate, and to educate. And that's the way I've been trying to structure my what will be a 4-year post. I'm about 15 months in to get the Air Cadets through a slightly more structured approach that they've been hitherto following. So promoting STEM would have involved me going to visit squadrons and introduce them to sessions. And this is, I believe, the first slide that I ever had on my very first PowerPoint, because I wanted to show the cadets that STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths, is something that they've always done since the Air Cadets came into being. Cadets have always been interested in aviation, always interested in radios, logistics, problem solving, design, engineering of various kinds. Space, obviously, and coding and robots is a more recent development, but they have been doing STEM since the very beginning. And I wanted to use that as a way of showing them that actually this was nothing to be frightened of. And it's a message that I try to get out to all the cadets all the time in different ways, and also to the staff. Anything STEM, the use of the word STEM does not have to scare people. They can, they're probably already doing it and they don't even know it. So that's where I started, marshmallow catapults. That was probably my first session that I took to 14 of the 15 squadrons around the wing. Just to explain very briefly, the wing is made up of 15 squadrons. It stretches from Cowbridge in the east to Aberystwyth in the, well, northwest, I suppose. About 600 cadets, and it's run by volunteers. And so I went around to, as I say, 14 of the 15 squadrons and took a very basic STEM session with me. And these are things that I literally found either at home or in Tesco. So we made marshmallow catapults, and we did Lego balloon cars and Lego mazes. And this photograph I particularly like, because this cadet was very, very proud of her car and insisted I took a photo, which I was delighted to do because she was quiet, and yet she was very proud of her creation. I'm also delighted with this photograph. This is one of the cadets who embraced the session with great enthusiasm. You're not allowed to have favorites, but he is one of my favorites. And he actually features on one of our promotional leaflets because his enthusiasm was infectious. This was me then. I do apologize. We seem to have a visitor to the session. This was me, again, showing lots of Lego that I was using. Most of it I just took from my house and borrowed from my son and myself, my own Lego sets. But I put this slide up because it shows how my very early forays into social media, because that again is something that is very useful when working with young people, is to get pictures out there. And they may not say anything to you immediately, but they will tell you months later that they have seen themselves on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you post the pictures. Apologies. That you and they're very, very pleased to see themselves and their creations on there, and they will then look more on your Facebook pages or Instagram, whatever you use, and they will follow other things that you put up. So from time to time I'll put up stuff about space missions, about when the ISS is going overhead, and also competitions that they can enter. This is one of the first major events that I became involved in last year. This was a Dragon's Eye camp, a camp for I think 40 cadets down Gower, and during the evenings I would run an activity whereby they would build and fly bottle rockets. And it's just a shame really that we can't see, my video won't work properly. But these rockets flew 20, 30 feet in the air at some velocity. This one truly was more of a missile than a rocket. In fact, to this day, it's still residing in the bracken at the back of that photograph because we never found it after it shot very high, very fast, and really quite far. And I think the cadets very much enjoyed that. They got the chance to build a rocket to their own design and to use a foot pump to blow up the water inside to release it. And then, as I say, they really did fly. This is another piece of kit that we find works well. I was a little skeptical of them at first, but they have proved themselves to be a good investment. The wing has a STEM kit made up of about 4 bags of kit. It's quite expensive, but as I say, it's well worth the money. This is the cadets in the squadron devising their own versions of a wheelbarrow to transfer water from one end of the room to the other. Needless to say, some got spilt, but needless to say also they thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is rapidly becoming one of my favorite exercises, the MTA kit. It requires, as you can see, one cadet reading out to the other cadet how they build a small structure. The cadet who is doing the building isn't supposed to look at the structure. The cadet isn't meant to look at the instructions. And some of the outcomes were very interesting, and it just goes to show the importance of being able to communicate well. These are cadets who were engaged in egg parachutes, and what I try and get them to do is, as well as doing the activity, is to tell us what they're doing. So here they are, a group of cadets explaining their design, and I particularly like this photo because it shows them genuinely smiling and laughing and trying to explain what it is they did. Most of the eggs survived quite well on that particular evening. And this photo I love because that just goes to show ingenuity and originality. I gave the cadets the option to design paint designs on their eggs, and the time and trouble that you can see that has gone into that egg that was going to be literally thrown out of a window and maybe not survive made me realize just when you can engage their attention and their enthusiasm, what you'll get. That one even had a name. I think he may have been Corporal Billy, but I can't quite remember. So what we do as well is, as well as doing events, so going to parade nights and attending to squadron evenings, it's, I suppose, our own version of outreach. We go out to shows and participate. And so in last year, and indeed again this year, we were able to have a STEM stand. It's very brief, it's very small, very modest, but you can see in the far left of that picture a whiteboard which has the STEM activities on it. And in the far left corner, there is a lot of Lego, and we did have a lot of engagement with the public who came to see exactly what we were doing. So this was at the Gower show. I always like it when some staff smile when they're part of the activity. And then this is the air show, and this STEM tent, as it turned out to be, had a lot of engagement with the public. It was very well attended. This is just before we opened, so I thought I'd take a photograph. You can see how it was set out. We went from, to the left was very basic, using Lego to build cars, over to the right where we got laptops with Scratch on. And again, those desks were well attended all day long, every day. And some of the Scratch programming being done by the young people coming in was quite phenomenal. In fact, one of them, I asked if I could use it as an example for the remainder of the air show. Again, I really like this photograph because this, again, is one of the things I'd say to anyone who's looking to get young people enthused by STEM is get your staff enthused, or your colleagues, or the people that you volunteer with. This is one of our senior members of staff who, I have to say, thoroughly enjoyed working with Lego and the public for 2 days. He came back the second day. So as I say, when the staff truly commit, you do have a better output, as I'm sure you'll already know. And then the staff truly commit when they get the chance to do things like sit in aircraft like that. This is a visit earlier this year to the South Wales Aviation Museum, SWAM, in St Athens, that I undertook with, you see their squadron leader, Chris Butler, who is our wing training officer, former RAF himself. And so I find that when the staff themselves can get involved in an activity and understand it, and probably, and almost definitely know more than me about them, then we can really get something going very well for the cadets. And this is really where collaboration with outside organizations, so participation for the cadets in things go outside of cadets itself, is so useful. This is a brilliant example of collaboration. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm on a Technocamps webinar today. This is something that was put in place last year. Technocamps came to 3 squadrons. They did 2 visits per squadron, and they were what they had to offer was extremely well received by the cadets. So much so that I have persuaded the wing to invest in 4 of these Lego Spike education sets, which are currently residing at my house. I'm thoroughly enjoying getting to know them. And so I'm hoping that these will be rolled out, firstly at the camp that was being run in a couple of weeks' time, but later on across the whole wing. And so working in collaborations with organisations who know an awful lot more about the subject than I do, indeed anyone on the wing probably does, is invaluable. This is one of the exercises the Technocamps undertook with our cadets. So they didn't just bring the robots, they brought games. This is about aliens and humans and safe transfers across rivers so that aliens didn't eat humans. The aliens obviously are wearing the dealy boppers, which I thought was brilliant. And so we do a lot of fun stuff. We also try and do some slightly more serious stuff. This is the wing training officer at one of the squadrons on a parade evening, explaining how cadets can get involved with the IDEA Award. In order to obtain the bronze cyber badge, cadets have to undertake the bronze IDEA Award. So this is us going around squadrons encouraging young people to participate, and this is something they can do in their own time, and indeed a lot of them did during lockdown. And so this was my own Lego robot, Monty, at the the Wales Air Show last year. He didn't run particularly well, poor thing. But again, when you put a robot like that on the floor and give the remote control that you see in the front of the screen to a member of the public, their eyes light up and you see them really get interested. And then, we hand the remote control to a young person, and their parent or guardian, whoever's with them, will start to ask questions. And then you can explain this is something that you can do in Air Cadets. And indeed, as you can see here, this is me setting up the first of the Lego Spike kits that we have. And the hope is that we'll go forward in the future to use even more advanced kits like Monty, and use these Spike robots to enter into competitions and also teach more of the young people that we work with about coding and about engineering and about all the skills that we're being told that they will need for the future. So I hope I haven't taken too long to explain, but I suppose my key takeaways from this would be to anyone getting involved. I came into the police and the cadets fairly late on in a career. Don't be put off by acronyms. The military and the police are full of them. Don't be put off by any tech talk. Don't be put off by anybody who tries to talk down to you, dare I say. Engage with it, because I have found it an absolutely brilliant way of relating to my son, relating to other young people, and without trying to sound too preachy about it, just getting an awful lot out of working with the young people, because the subject itself is so interesting. I would encourage collaboration with industries, organizations like Technocamps. I've been met with a lot of enthusiasm. So I'm trying to find lots of ways to work with as many different organizations as I can. Show enthusiasm. If you spread it around, other people get infected by it. And as I've shown, if the staff or the volunteers you work with also get enthused, then you can't help but pass it on. And lastly, invite the young people that you work with to become STEM ambassadors. We're in the process of appointing an ambassador for every squadron, at least one for every squadron on the wing, so that they will take charge of STEM offerings within that squadron and can relay back to me what they're doing and what they need. So I think that's all I have to say. I I hope I haven't taken too long, and I hope that's been relatively useful to people.
Oh, thank you, Liz. I think just waiting for my camera to come on. Hopefully you can hear me. There we go. It was taking a minute to turn itself back on. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I relate to everything that you've said so much, apart from the fact that I've got a STEM background and you haven't, but we do very similar activities and similar work, and obviously partner with the work that we do at Technocamps as well. So it was lovely to see somebody else, you know, without that official STEM background, if you see what I mean, but a personal interest in it, doing brilliant outreach work that needs to be done to get everybody sort of interested and a bit more educated in STEM generally, just to have a bit more of an understanding of how the world works around us, really, which is really important. So fabulous stuff, and all done on a voluntary basis, which is, you know, another thing that we have to remember, which is excellent stuff. So if anybody has any questions from our audience today, please pop them in the chat. Can you explain to people in the audience about the STEM Ambassador program, just in case they hadn't heard of it and it's something they might be interested in?
Yeah, it's something that I've got a slightly different spin on it, in that I'm encouraging the young people to become STEM ambassadors, as it were. But yes, the STEM ambassadors that we're aware of, RAFAC on a national level can put us in touch with a network of people who will offer to come to and talk to young people and encourage them to undertake STEM related activities, talk to them particularly as well about possibility of careers. Because I mean, I would not have known where to start if I had been interested in a STEM career. I would not have known where to start. And so the STEM ambassadors are people who are, you know, very much immersed in their careers and can work with young people or explain to young people what they need to do to get to where they want to go. And even if they come, I mean, we found if people come to squadrons and talk to us about, I know, material science or steam engines, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. It's just been so useful to meet with true experts who want to get involved, and that's the joy of it, is that because they go through the ambassador program, they want to do this outreach work.
Exactly.
They're not being forced into it.
I've literally put the link to the STEM Ambassador Network in the chat, so if anyone needed to know about it, they can. I'm a big advocate for people becoming STEM ambassadors as well. So I don't know if you're registered as a STEM ambassador, are you?
I looked at it and I thought, how could I possibly hold myself out?
I think you could, because especially with the RAF cadet stuff on your sort of CV as well, and the experience that you've got practical experience of doing outreach. So I think the STEM Ambassador Network is generally for people working in STEM who want to volunteer, and it gets them registered with a network so that they get given opportunities. So they said a school in your area want to talk from a scientist, can you do it? So it gives them the opportunity to sort of go out and do things if they don't have any contacts to do it themselves. But yeah, I have all of the students who work for Technocamps at USW registered as STEM ambassadors, which is really important, and it gets you your DBS as well as a volunteer and some sort of training on going out and working with young people. So really, really useful network, and we use them as well, STEM ambassadors like you, to come in and talk about things as well and run workshops with us as well. So it's really, really good network to be part of. Okay, other questions? We've got a question come in here from, it looks like Squadron Leader Chris Butler. I don't know if you know him. What challenges have you found with the RAFAC since taking the role, and what would you see as the principal activity that you'd like to develop?
So you are one of the challenges that I've encountered since I worked with RAFAC. No, I shouldn't say that. Actually, Chris has been excellent because he's our wing training officer, and he's a self-confessed, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, a self-confessed gadget boy and nerd. And so when you have somebody who can understand, when you talk about 3D printing, when you talk about the activities that coding, Chris is an IT specialist. When you talk about things like that, you will find somebody who is speaking your language and will understand what you're trying to achieve. as I alluded to at the start, one of the biggest challenges was not really having a very clearly defined portfolio, and not really having a network of people to call on. Although, and this kind of links back to what you said about the STEM ambassadors, as I was going around the squadrons doing my talk and getting cadets to, you know, play with robots, play with Lego and build sweet constructions. I mean, they loved me coming there because I said, you know, what if we open a packet of fruit pastels to make a structure, you can eat them. I'm not taking any half empty parts. So they loved me because I brought sweets. But the point was, once I got an activity underway, very often a member of staff would sort of come up to me and quietly say, oh, I'm a software engineer, or I work on, and that's how you didn't know these people were there. They hadn't made themselves known. So that was one of the challenges, was that there is actually a wealth of knowledge and experience and enthusiasm out there, but it hadn't been drawn together. So I'm in the process of trying to draw these people together, trying not to over bowl them over with my enthusiasm, but you know, I'm getting them to network and you know, go out to the sectors, because we work by sectors. So that was probably some of the challenges. And pinnacle activity, we have spoken about this. I think anything to do with coding and robotics. I would love to see the cadets, all of the cadets, feel confident. That would be my aim, to see all the cadets feel confident that if they get presented with a kit, and if they get presented with a laptop with, say, Scratch or Python on it, that they don't feel that they don't know where to start. And then see them and engagement then with other organizations. So you know, I know there was talk about the Air Cadets entering the Technocamps Robotics Challenge, and things like that. So it's so that if an Air Cadet when they time out or they leave Air Cadets for whatever reason, and they look back and they say, that sparked an interest for me. So I guess my pinnacle activity would be sparking an interest as well.
Brilliant.
That was
that's what we hope to do with Technocamps as well. It's sort of giving young people skills that then hopefully will help them in their career, whatever that happens to be. And if it's in STEM, all the better for us as well.
Yes.
Okay, there is another question that's come in from Jacob, whoever Jacob might be. I don't know if you know these people or not.
I'm not sure if it's somebody from my from my world, as it were.
Maybe, yeah. So where do you see yourself in the STEM world in 5 years' time?
Oh.
So maybe after your 4-year placement.
That's it. I mean, it's whether or not
you see happening.
Yeah, whether or not I'm hoping that I do survive my 4 years. I do hope at some point somebody goes, hang on, you haven't actually got any STEM knowledge and experience. What happened there? How did we appoint you? No, once I get past the 4 years, I can see myself. I'd like to see myself staying with the Air Cadets, but whatever I do, and bearing in mind I'll be sort of mid to late 50s by then, I'd like to see myself still working with young people, just seeing the enthusiasm, I mean, in 5 years' time, who knows where we're going to be with technology. So I can't say I will be doing something or other, but I would like to be, as I say, getting them feeling confident with the kit that you put in front of them. They don't feel scared of it, but also then reaching out to more organizations and taking cadets into the wider world of STEM as well. So yeah, staying with it, but more of it, I think.
Well, okay, sounds positive. So I'm quite interested. I've obviously heard of Air Cadets. I've never been. As a young person, I haven't got any family or friends who are sort of in a cadet sort of group. So could you explain to us the demographic of the young people that attend Air Cadets? Because how many girls, how many boys, what sort of backgrounds, and what are their interests and why are they there. That's really interesting, I think.
The demographic is interesting because it basically is from the squadrons that I've visited and the cadets I've spoken to, they're very varied. We have, as I say, 15 operative squadrons. They range from, say, they parade. When they say parade, it means the number that attend on a particular night. They meet twice a week in the evenings. And on an average parade night, a squadron could have 12 or it could have 40.
Wow, really?
And there's quite a high number of girls going into Air Cadets. I would say perhaps when my son joined 3-4 years ago, not so many. But when we organised the Technocamp visits using the Lego Spike, we try to ensure that the squadrons that they visited had a reasonable number of girls in there to reach out to. And so we are seeing, and the girls that come to squadron are, I'm just trying to think of examples, quite significantly interested in STEM. And they've joined Air Cadets possibly because they want to join the RAF. I mean, there's a lot of youth, there's a number of different organizations you can join. My son came to Air Cadets through Scouts, because he started out of Scouts and then he became old enough to become a cadet. And I don't want to sound like a recruiting agent here, but the joy of Air Cadets is they learn to fly and fire guns. It's the flying that is a particular draw, and the flying and the gliding. But we do see cadets from all backgrounds, all nationalities. I think there's a squadron in the Western sector has a number of Polish cadets. We have, and all ages within the range, because they start, I'm sure Squadron Leader Butler will correct me, but somewhere around 13, and they go up to, they time out, as it were, at 20. We do have a number of cadets that are sort of aged between 16 and 18 regularly on a squadron evening. If that answers the question. Yeah,
it gives me an idea of the numbers and that sort of thing, because it's something that I'm not familiar with, so I don't know if everyone in the audience would be familiar with as well. So you obviously got into working with the Air Cadets through your son joining, is that right? So otherwise, sort of, how have other people that you work with been brought into working with the Air Cadets? And also, I'm just interested in, have you got any other partnerships with other organisations like Technocamps that you're working with currently?
We're working with Technocamps. Most of them are what I would call fledgling connections, because, as I say, there haven't been a lot of organisations that have worked consistently with the Air Cadets before my appointment. So Technocamps is one. I'm forming a relationship with Tarian, which is the regional organised crime unit. It goes overall, it covers all the forces in South Wales, and they work in cybersecurity. And they came to one of our squadrons and they ran a cyber escape room.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, brilliant. It was literally out of a suitcase.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the point of it. And the cadets engaged with it, and even the cadets that I would have identified with, because I knew the cadets involved, even the ones I would have identified as not necessarily being techie, were very interesting, because it's problem solving, isn't it?
Yes, it's part of their sort of in modern life as well, isn't it? Cyber security stuff, because everyone is online, especially young people, so I think it's really relevant to them as well. Yeah.
So Tarian were able to top and tail a session by explaining about cybersecurity, and they ran a little quiz at the end to see what people had learned about cybersecurity by doing the exercise. So it was beneficial, I hope, for them, and it was beneficial for us, because we got, our cadets had a little bit of learning and a little bit of fun as part of it. So Tarian is one. South Wales Museum, SWAM, is another one that we're looking to build a relationship with. They are I hope I don't reveal any secrets now, but I know that they're very interested in doing a display in the museum about women in aviation.
Right.
So we have said that we would work with them on their displays and the information gathering that they need. So that's another one. And I'm looking for now, I'm trying to build relationships with universities, computer science departments, but also industries. I'm aware of the fact that in South Wales we have I think I'm trying to remember the name of Space Forge.
Okay.
Which is a satellite company.
Right.
So it is about reaching out to them and seeing if they're interested.
Yeah, and it's finding things that you can link to your RAF background, you know, the background of the Air Cadets as well. Do you look for something that sort of links in with that sort of thing as well, specifically?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, obviously anything aviation related has the cadets' interest. And working with, say, we're going up to SWAM and seeing the planes and working on the planes if they can, or engaging with something to do with the planes would be of interest to them. But also other things. I mean, one of our volunteers based in one of the Western sector is works on a steam railway.
Okay, you did mention
that's engineering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It still falls within my very, very, very loose, non-existent portfolio, I think. And so if we could organize visits, I know that Squadron Leader Butler took cadets on a camp last year, and they visited a hydroelectric dam.
Okay, yeah.
And we would class that as a sort of STEM related activity.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You know, so it's quite broad at the moment, but I do have a particular interest in the coding side of things.
Well, I'm sure that's something Technocamps can work with you on in some way or other. I don't know. We do lots of sort of teach training and things, so whether it's training up volunteers or working with young people, I'm sure that'll continue.
Well, there's a big drive in Air Cadets, as you probably could see that. I mean, I'm hoping this was a theme that would have been picked up, but the young people teach themselves. Okay. Cadets take what's called an MOI, again, another acronym, method of instruction course, and so they can learn to teach.
Oh,
so
nice.
We are, because of limited resources, sometimes resources being volunteers, we encourage people. We're encouraged to train the trainers.
Yeah, so the young people can then pass that on to younger cadets and things. Yeah.
And I happen to know that there's a squadron this evening who is receiving a STEM session on catapults using that kit I showed you by a cadet sergeant who's 16 or 17.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
he's delivering the session. I mean, he's run it past me, checked it with me, done the rest of the assessments, all that sort of thing. But that's part of the point of what we're doing, is to impact. Oh gosh, this sounds very preachy again. No, empower the young people themselves. And it's amazing the confidence that comes out when you get them onto something that they've never done before and they learn how to do it. It's infectious.
Yeah, no, I see the same when I'm working with, say, slightly older ambassadors with Technocamps, but the students at the university, we have a lot of students who are studying and work with us either on a paid ambassador basis or a voluntary basis, train as STEM ambassadors, and then they're going out to schools, sometimes independently delivering, and it's brilliant to see them have that confidence. And we've had a number of ambassadors that have gone into teaching from working with Technocamps, so you may find that you sort of spark that interest in teaching science or teaching engineering and doing that sort of thing. So I think and
I treat everything as a teachable moment. Recently we had a member of the Dyfed Powys Police brought his speed car, what I call speed car, fast, the big police car down to the squadron to talk to the cadets, to explain what he did and to show the cadets the car and all the equipment on it. And while we were all looking at all the amazing gadgets and gizmos on it, I was talking to one of the cadets about the lights and the siren. I said, we won't put the siren on now, we're in a built up area. And I just thought, I'll try this. And I said to her, isn't it funny how the siren changes sound as it goes past you? Oh yeah, I know about that. And having no scientific knowledge at all, I said, that's the Doppler effect.
Yeah.
hoping that she wasn't going to ask me what it was, but she did. So we looked at, we sort of talked about that, and after that very embarrassing 5 minutes of fluffing around the edges of what the Doppler effect was, she turned to me and said, "Oh, Miss, I wish you were my science teacher."
Oh,
Explain that. And I'm not saying that as a way of showing off, but I'm saying it that you don't know when, you don't realize what will, how they, if you can engage with them, they'll pick it up quickly, and they'll want to learn, and they'll want to know.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really nice example. Really, really good. Yeah, and I love the Doppler effect. Yeah, I love the fact that that came up in a random conversation about a police car, so it's perfect. Brilliant, thank you so much. All right, we haven't unless anyone's got any last minute questions, then please pop them in the chat. I'm just thinking, because of the people in the audience, it may be that they'd be interested in working with you, Liz. So I don't know if you're happy to share your email address with them.
I will do that now.
Pop that in the chat, and then people have that to contact you if they wish.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap that up for today. I have to say, I usually have to advertise the next WiST webinar in this one, and I don't know who we've got for next. What are we in now? May. So it'd be the summer. If we've got one in July, I actually don't know who we've got speaking, but obviously if you keep an eye on our Technocamps website and our Technocamps social media, that will be advertised out as soon as that's confirmed. So this, the WiST webinars are often highly advertised on LinkedIn, because it's a professional network, but obviously we've got our Instagram, our Facebook, and our website as well, if you want to, and Twitter as well, if you want to follow us on all of those channels. So did you pop your email?
I have. It's aerospace.3 Welsh Wing at rafacmod.gov.uk.
It hasn't popped up in the chat. I don't know if that's,
hasn't it?
No,
right.
I don't know if you just haven't pressed send or something.
Oh, no, I think
it might just be in the chat.
That is a distinct possibility. I will try, and
it should pop up for me as well. So yeah, if it's not there, we'll just make sure that people can get it before we leave.
Let's see. That is the send. Yeah. Control.
Oh yeah, it's popped up now.
Yeah, that's my other one. I have a few email addresses. All of them will reach me.
Okay, fabulous. So if anyone is interested in doing some work with the RAF, Air Cadets, and with Liz, that would be fantastic, and sharing your STEM knowledge and skills.
I can see somebody already hasn't offered an introduction to Space Forge.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. So thank you so much for whoever that was. Yes, oh yeah, sorry, you did have an email up there. Fired visit to the waste hydrogen pilot plant in Q4. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So there you go, Paul Emmett. That's the person to talk to.
I will be in contact with Mr.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, thank you for today. Thank you for your time. I know you've been busy this week because we've been trying to catch up all week, haven't we? But yeah, really, really pleased to have learned more about what Technocamps are doing with you guys, because I haven't been involved in that sort of side of the project. So it's been really interesting. Keep up the good work. You are doing some amazing stuff, and never let anyone tell you that just because you haven't got a STEM background, if you've got the passion, you're willing to do the research and deliver that stuff, then, you know, you are as much a STEM ambassador as anybody else. So I'm really, really impressed with what you're doing at the moment. So
thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with Technocamps.
Oh, good.
And I will be looking to work with them as much as possible in the future.
Well, are you coming to the robotics competition? Because the RAF is sponsoring the robotics competition this year.
I don't know. Well, at the time we didn't have robots with which to enter the competition, but now we do. So I'm going to get in touch with Stuart, and
you've got time, yeah, because I think it's just under 2 months now till our final event on the 13th of July. Right,
yes.
So if you can be ready by then, you never know, we might.
I will do all I can to be ready by then.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Okay. And hopefully we will cross paths again.
Hopefully, yes.
So thank you for our audience today. As they will be sending the recording out to everyone.